Talk about solar on farm ground. I got bathed into a discussion yesterday with friends, none of whom were agricultural, and so much emotion pours out of this. Of course, they did listen. They wanted to hear my thoughts on this. I will say it again. I recorded this in a podcast, The Business of Agriculture, that came out not too long ago, and went through all of this. I am opposed to solar for the reasons that mostly are political. It is propped up by taxpayer dollars. It never actually probably would make sense were it not for the Inflation Creation Act, which came out a couple of years ago, tossed $900 billion at this whole entire thing. That being said, I don't believe it's stoppable. $900 billion of a $1.7 trillion federal act is earmarked for clean energy. We can get into the whole thing about why solar is not really clean and manufactured, all that stuff. I'm not going to right now because I want to talk to you about the bigger picture here. Solar on farm ground. Yes, I'm opposed to it. Yes, I think prime farm ground should be farm ground. All those things. But I'm not going to vocally oppose it at the local or state level because, first off, I think it's unstoppable. With $900 billion being tossed around, companies and political entities are going to make this thing happen. It's going to cross the finish line. Number two, there's local opposition here in my home county, Huntington County, the next county over. Local opposition will fail. Why? Because with that much money and that much money to be had, these entities are going to go to the state level. They'll go to Indianapolis, Springfield, Columbus, Ohio, wherever it should be, and they're going to get statewide legislation passed that says you can't oppose solar farms at the local level. It will happen because of the money. Remember, we live in a politically charged environment, and also politicians and legislation are transactional. They can be bought. The other part of this, we are heading into a down farm economy, possibly for a long, long time. The last 5 years have been amazing. 4 years have been amazing. Then before that, we really are on about a 20-year run, much due to China. Well, things are changing. Demographics are changing. The population is not going to continue to grow. Upward economics are not going to continue to happen, where every Chinese person eats another 1,000 calories a day. There's a lot of reasons that agriculture is going to change. Also, we produce like crazy. If that is the case, some of us realize that in a down farm economy, which might be perpetual, you should look for diversification of revenue. Corn and soybeans and wheat are not necessarily going to pay the bills. We're going to have diversification. In the old days, diversification meant you had a hog barn, or maybe you milked cows as well as grain farmed. Diversification moving forward will be alternate revenue sources from non-agricultural sources. Maybe you own a business in town. Maybe your spouse works, which has always been the story for agriculture for a long, long time. But also, what if you get diversification of revenue off of your land, and it could be solar panels? We'll bring you another thing. Speaking of the bad old 80s, some of us that are old enough to live through it. Those of you that didn't live through it and don't know about history, things got really, really bad out here in the farmland. Things got really, really bad in agriculture. And you know what happened? Then people started losing their farms. You know what happened when some people lost their farms? Fourth generation, fifth generation, they felt like failures. You know what else they felt? Pissed off. Bankers got shot. Look it up. Yeah, a guy walked into an office in Iowa and shot his banker because his farm was being repossessed. Why am I saying this? Am I predicting this is going to happen? Well, I can tell you that when farm economics get really, really bad, and then the guy down the road who lives in a $30,000 double wide pushed through a protest movement to make it so you couldn't put solar panels on your farm, thereby denying you the opportunity to keep your farming legacy going, preventing you from making money when some guy in a $30,000 double wide on a half acre of shit ground down the road is preventing farmers from making money and capitalizing on their assets. Bad things could happen. So I oppose solar on farm ground. I've said it enough. I'm tired of saying it. But I'm also telling the reality of the situation. I think that we should really look at this for what it is. It is unstoppable. It's going to be happening at the state and federal level. Local opposition will mean nothing. And more importantly, in a down farm economy, do you really want to prevent the guy down the road from being able to make money when corn and soybeans are being produced at a cost that's greater than the actual market price? Something to think about. You leave your comments. I don't mind. I'm not going to get into your political argument. I just told you the reasons why solar is going to happen. And we should actually realize that and then react accordingly. Make it a great day. Damian Mason, The Business of Agriculture.